Hello, welcome to Digital Sales and Marketing Cybersecurity course, week 6, the process to create proactive cybersecurity marketing strategy. So in order to actually create a proactive cybersecurity marketing strategy, we need to actually look at the fundamentals in helping the company take a proactive approach to security instead of reacting to new threats. So basically looking at this from a proactive uh, vantage point as opposed to the reactive vantage point. In the case of many businesses, this could be quite detrimental to their long-term success. For instance, if you were a local contractor and your website information was hacked and the billing information of clients was taken, that could obviously adversely affect your business, even if money was stolen from your clients' bank accounts. It'd be a bad look for your business, in which case it may adversely affect getting repeat business from those individuals. So many businesses probably have some sort of basic strategy, or they're at zero. One of the things that we'll try to do is create a robust strategy that is feasible and cost effective for the institution. So the step one in creating a new security strategy is determining what we have to actually protect. Understanding which assets the company has to protect. Is this client data, um, company data, or are there intermediaries or third parties that we have to focus on? The reality of protecting everything across the board is not exactly feasible, probably for the typical budget, but with a proper analysis of what we are working with and not working with, we can get a good starting point of what we should actually put most of our focus on, and perhaps our top 5 assets we need to correct. This is going to be done by determining our data and IT assets, such as applications, devices, servers, and users that are critical to the business, and also the likelihood that they could be infiltrated from outside parties. The next is to figure out what we actually are legally required to protect. We have hopes and dreams of what we would like to protect, present any sort of adverse situations across the board. However, working with compliance and security, we'll figure out what actually we should be focusing on. What is our responsibility? What our insurance is actually expecting us to be doing. By simply pleading ignorance on these particular topics, it's not going to hold up in the court of law. So the more proactive we are, the more due diligence we do, the less likely that's going to adversely affect us down the way. Next is understanding the company's risk appetite. Are we risk adverse? Are we risk taking? Are we right in the middle, being moderate? This will tremendously affect the extent that we need to actually go through this particular strategy. If we're just going to do the bare minimum of whatever the insurance company wants us to do, versus we're going to be proactive and incorporate that into our unique selling proposition for our marketing department, it's going to probably dictate the path we go significantly. Step 2 is actually getting to know the threat landscape. We need to understand the environment in which the company operates, who are the customers, who we're selling to, who's going to benefit from disrupting the business. The answers to these questions is going to pretty much dictate how we actually go about this. Perhaps if we're just a small mom and pop situation, we aren't going to have to stress nearly as much as if we were something as large as perhaps a hospital, for example, in which case it's quite lucrative for cyber attacks to take the business hostage. Because, for example, if they were able to turn the power off and you had people on life support, that could have dire consequences. Next is just to be mindful of what's happening to the competition, always being abreast of changes that are happening on a daily basis. Um, at any given moment, there's tens of thousands of intrusions happening, and the best thing we can do is learn from the experiences of our peers so that we can prevent it from happening to us as best as possible. And then finally, understanding the types of threats that your business needs to protect against. Each particular niche is going to have their own specific angles that hackers will look to get into your business. The more we can understand and comprehend those, the more proactive we can be as opposed to being reactive. Step 3 is building our cybersecurity plan. So we need to actually pick out what framework we should actually be focusing on, create a timeline, and acknowledge the current state of affairs that we're dealing with. We're going to go through our CIS controls, ISO, and choose a framework that's going to be able to track the progress while prioritizing the important steps. Essentially just utilizing the workflow that we learned about in the previous lesson. Next is going to be what needs to be protected via processes, what assets are going to be most effective for us, and what do we already currently have, what do we need to get added on to, what type of strategies or long-term contracts would be relevant in order to do this successfully. And then lastly is evaluate the company's security maturity level. What are we doing currently now? Are we beginner, intermediate, expert, advanced? And start figuring out benchmarks of goals that we should be looking to achieve to minimize risk and issues going forward. In addition, we're going to evaluate the technology stack that we are dealing with, utilizing cyber defense metrics to identify any gaps we actually have in the security for our institution. The benefit of doing something like this is we can actually start analyzing how this is going to complement our sales and digital marketing strategy and see where those opportunities are for infiltration so we can prevent them as best as possible. As with anything for large strategies, when we start having small, quick wins, simple tasks, and then they slowly merge into combination tasks for intermediate and advanced objectives, the more likely that we're going to succeed with our game plan. And then lastly, evaluate the organization's ability to actually execute the plan. As with any business strategy, need to actually take into account what you are dealing with, what your budget is, what your bandwidth is, what your employees can handle. Is it going to make life less efficient by actually trying to implement things to this effect? In which case, are we going to have to raise prices? Are we going to stay in business long enough to actually make this a worthwhile endeavor? All types of things we need to deal on. It's going to be consultants, in-house, out-of-house, regardless. But we'll continue this on in next week's lesson. But if you have any questions, as always, shoot me an email. Otherwise, have a great day.